This question was sent in by Michael. What if gravity turned off for 1 second every hour? Good question. Gravity is that very force that keeps us on the planet's surface, makes apples fall down instead of floating in the air, and prevents the atmosphere from escaping into space. We don't notice it until we slip or try to lift a couch by ourselves. But now, imagine it disappears, just for 1 second. And does it every hour? What would happen? Let's start with the obvious. If gravity disappears, everything that isn't bolted down or weighed down starts to rise, for 1 second. Sounds almost fun. You lift a cup of coffee, and suddenly you float into the air along with it. The cup slowly tilts, spilling coffee into your face. You rise a few centimeters, and then come down with a thud, a lake of coffee on the floor. Good luck explaining that during a Zoom call. But let's think deeper. In a world where gravity disappears every hour, people would stop laughing very quickly. Imagine an airplane. It's flying at about 900 kilometers per hour. The moment gravity shuts off, the plane, passengers, food, drinks, pilots, seats, and all their phones. Everything continues moving in a straight line, not upward, just forward, without being pulled downward. The stabilization system goes haywire. Pilots lose control because air no longer pulls downward. The plane turns into a flying sheet of paper, and exactly 1 second later, gravity returns, suddenly, abruptly, and painfully. Office workers dropping their coffee mugs and keyboards, that's nothing. The real problems start with people working at height. Construction workers, window washers, technicians. 1 second without gravity, and you suddenly find yourself 10 centimeters above the scaffolding, then you crash down. Even if you're strapped in, the harness might slacken for a fraction of a second, enough to twist you in midair. Safety at such jobs becomes impossible. Insurance would cost as much as a spaceship, maybe more. Now, elevators. Oh, elevators. If you happen to be in an elevator when gravity cuts out, you'll literally float inside the cabin for 1 second. Not too bad, you might think. But the cabin floats too. Then it falls. Imagine this combined with the emergency brake system, which suddenly catches the cabin. So, you float up, the elevator floats up, and then you meet, you from the ceiling, the elevator from the floor. Result, bruise on the forehead, broken coffee machine, and a very sad maintenance engineer. What about water? Oceans, lakes, rivers, all lose their connection to the ground for a second. A wave rises, the surface bulges up slightly, like in a slow-motion movie, and then falls back down. Imagine millions of tiny tsunamis every hour. Coastal cities suffer from regular micro-floods, and boats behave like someone is yanking them upward every hour. Tourism becomes a thing of the past. But it's not just about people. Birds. Imagine a bird that takes off, and then gravity disappears. Wings no longer generate lift, because there's nothing to overcome. The bird loses control. Does it fall? No. It just hangs. Then gravity returns, and the bird ends up in a strange trajectory, possibly head first. Flying becomes dangerous. Some species that depend on precise navigation might simply go extinct. Now, imagine school children. The bell rings for recess, and the whole school floats a few centimeters into the air. Books, backpacks, pencil cases, kids. Teachers stare in horror as the whiteboard and marker launch into the air. Gravity returns, and everything drops back down. Almost everything. One marker hits someone in the eye. Someone ruins their homework from fear. The educational process is at risk. Okay, you say. Maybe it's not so bad. People adapt. Maybe we develop new safety standards. Everyone wears helmets. Desks come with straps. Lamps are bolted down. Chairs have safety loops. Even tea is in sealed bottles. New professions might appear. Gravitational timekeepers who monitor the clock and warn everyone. Attention, gravity loss in 10 seconds. But not everything can be secured. Air, for example. The atmosphere is also held by gravity. If it disappears even for 1 second, the upper layers begin to expand, slowly but steadily. Once every hour, day by day. In a few years, the air becomes slightly thinner. In a few decades, it becomes harder to breathe. High-rise buildings find themselves in thin air conditions. Mountain cities, on the verge of disappearing. Oxygen masks may become necessary. just to live on the 20th floor. And finally, the scariest part. Earth orbits the sun due to gravity. If gravity on the planet disappeared even for a second, Earth wouldn't just continue on its orbital path. It would jump off course for a second every hour, like throwing a gyroscope off balance every hour. A mini jolt. Unnoticeable at first, but over time, the orbit becomes unstable. A millimeter here, a kilometer there. And hello, Venus. So if gravity really did turn off for 1 second every hour, it wouldn't just be a curiosity. It would be a threat to all life. The world would need to rebuild. New cities, new habits, new safety systems. Or maybe people would find a way to use it. For sports, new types of transportation, even for fun, anti-gravity parties. But just one miscalculation. And you fall from a very great height. Because, as it turns out, gravity is the most loyal thing we have. As long as it's here, everything's fine. But the moment it leaves, even for a second, the world is no longer the same. Thank you to everyone who clicked like and subscribed to the channel. See you in the next video.